In a forgotten corner of Michoacan, lightning struck an ancient pine tree, and no one came close to looking. Years later, a family on the brink of ruin, without cooking gas, ventured toward that tree thinking only of firewood. What they found buried in its roots wasn't firewood, but a secret that catapulted them from poverty to riches. This is a realistic story of suspense, greed, and redemption. Subscribe, ring the bell, and discover the mystery of the treasure of the burned tree. Here's the story. In Santa Clara del Cabra, Michoacan, the Chavez family lived at the foot of the mountains, where the air smelled of resin and the creaking of the pines was the town's soundtrack. Don Gregorio, 78, was a craftsman with gnarled hands and a sharp memory, who still carved wooden figures with a care that belied his grumpy nature. He vividly remembered that night, years ago, when lightning struck a giant pine tree in a nearby clearing. The sky opened up and the earth shook, he would say, but no one in the family paid attention. The burned tree remained a forgotten monument, and life went on. Esteban, his 45-year-old son, was a man of few words, with broad shoulders and a tired look. He made furniture in the family workshop with his 42-year-old wife, Clara, a practical woman with a gift for numbers, but with a temperament that brooked no excuses. His 19-year-old daughter, Lucia, had big dreams. She wanted to study graphic design in Morelia, but the workshop sales were barely enough to eat. Diego, the youngest, 10, was a restless child who collected stones and asked questions about everything. The workshop was in crisis. Tourism in Santa Clara had declined, and the Chavez furniture, though beautiful, wasn't selling. The family bought wood from the town's lumberyards, because Don Gregorio insisted on using only the best. But one day, the gas tank ran out, and they didn't have the money to refill it. The kitchen grew cold, and hunger began to bite. "Esteban, we have to do something," Clara said, crossing her arms. "We can't go on like this." Esteban sighed, looking around the empty workshop. "I'll go get some firewood. We'll find something." Don Gregorio, sitting in his rocking chair, looked up. The burned-out pine tree. The one struck by lightning years ago. No one touched it. "Go there." Esteban frowned. "That old tree. It's rotten, Dad." "Go and look, kid." "We never went to look," Grandpa insisted, a spark in his eyes. At dawn, Esteban and Clara headed for the clearing, carrying an axe, a wheelbarrow, and a lantern. The path wound through the pines, and the mountain cold chilled them to the bone. Clara, though skeptical, followed her husband, muttering about the absurdity of searching for firewood in a burned tree. They reached the clearing, and the pine tree appeared before them, a split colossus, with charred branches and roots exposed like claws. The base of the trunk was broken, and a deep crack ran into the ground. Clara shone her flashlight, and a metallic glint stopped them in their tracks. "What's that?" she said, her voice strained. Esteban approached, axe in hand. Among the roots, buried in the crack, was a metal chest, rusted and charred, as if struck by lightning. It was heavy, with corroded edges, and seemed out of place in that forgotten forest. "It can't be," Esteban murmured, his pulse quickening. Clara knelt, clearing the earth. Who would bury anything here? With precise blows, Esteban freed the trunk, wrenching it free from the roots. The two of them dragged it into the clearing, sweating from the effort. The lock was broken, but the lid held. Esteban used the axe to force it, and with a creaking sound, the trunk opened. Time stood still. Inside, in the lantern's light, 8 ingots glittered, for silver, cold and shining, and 4 gold, with a glow that seemed alive. Clara let out a smothered cry, and Esteban froze, touching an ingot as if it were a dream. "Where did this come from?" Clara whispered, staring at her husband with wide eyes. "I don't know, but this is real," Esteban replied, his voice breaking. The crack, the tree, the lightning bolt, everything seemed to conspire to bring that trunk to them. But at that moment, they could only think of one thing. Their life would never be the same. Back at the workshop, the trunk was hidden under a tarp. Don Gregorio, seeing it, crossed himself. "That tree always had a secret," he said, touching the ingots reverently. But the initial euphoria gave way to caution. Whose treasure was this? Was it legal to keep it? What if someone came to claim it? Clara, with her practical mind, took charge. We can't tell anyone. Not the neighbors, not the family. This could get us into trouble. They investigated discreetly. A friend of Clara's in Morelia, a retired jeweler, confirmed that the ingots were authentic, probably hidden during the Mexican Revolution by someone who never returned.